Hello again. Welcome back to Viewpoints on the Line. Going on to topic number 3. It's going to be very short, but more of one of those what I call sound bites. You get to see what the topic is. No armed officers in schools. Trustees say. Now, 2 trustees in Toronto are feeling we don't want to have officers in our schools. Some of these schools are high risk, where violence may have happened, like with Jordan Manors, on the school premises. So parents end up feeling, well, what about my child going to school? Is my child safe? But the 2 of you are parents. Do you want to see armed officers in your child's school?
Not at all. In fact, I talked to my son about it today, and he said, when he was reading the article, and we were talking about it, about putting armed security guards in the schools, he said, why? And that really sums it up to me. And I live in a small town, granted, and everything, but, I mean, are things really that bad? I think what we need to do is a bigger police presence. And
what about some of those schools, though, particularly in these urban centers where a lot of violence takes place and kids regularly have guns and knives? How do you feel about it?
That's a police issue. I mean, it isn't, I don't think it's up to school boards to, I would be, actually, I would be scared to have my son in such a school.
So would I, but would you feel better if there were officers in the school?
I think the purpose of having the officers there is so they have their ear to the ground. They know which kids are the trouble kids and which ones they aren't.
So you're not opposed to this for certain schools?
If the school has one incident of someone bringing a knife or a gun to school, I want an officer in there if my kid's in there. And I think the trustees are confusing the presence of guns with the presence of danger. You know, a gun in a police officer's hand.
Because once a police officer is present, they're going to have a gun. So even the headline and the article itself left me kind of scratching my head. What are they talking about? Because an officer carries a gun. Even years ago, when bullying became in the forefront, it was a major issue happening in the schools. There was a lot of police and school collaboration on the notion of community policing, and cops were there. Even talking to the classroom kids. These are armed officers, so I'm wondering, do you see a difference here, or is it how it's presented by the media and by these wards?
I think it really comes down to the whole idea that guns don't murder people, but they sometimes prevent them from being murdered, and it all depends on who's holding that gun and the morality behind it. If someone's flashing a gun as a show of bravado, that's a person who's dangerous. If he's wearing a gun on his holster and he's wearing a badge, that's a reassurance. But I don't need that kind of presence in a school, a country school, where everything's pretty calm. And why put everybody on edge? I didn't grow up with it. It wasn't necessary. But certainly there are schools where there are guns, and the principals know there are guns, and there needs to be police.
And then there's the role of the principal, too. That zero tolerance on violence, that's another issue.
And what about civil rights? I mean, where will that end up? Are we going to start searching kids at the door? Or, is somebody, the officer suspects somebody has something, is he going to infringe upon his rights and search him, search his locker? I mean, these are all issues that we have to deal with first before we can just start arming our schools.
One thing we certainly need to do is have discipline in our school system, and it's got to start somewhere, and that's all the time we have for today. See you again next time. I'm Christine Williams, and from all of us, thank you for watching.